Now, the Home Secretary, she's been calling on the police, she's been calling them to do a lot of things, but to ramp up the use of stop and search.
But critics say that it disproportionately targets black and ethnic minority communities, and the government's own data shows that black people are 7 times more likely to be stopped compared with white people.
Well, let's speak to our very own Nana Akua, who's written very personally this in my own newspaper, today's Daily Mail. If we can see full page, Nana. I mean, you obviously were very strongly about this. The headline, I've been stopped and searched, but like many mothers of black teenagers, I know it saves lives.
Yeah,
Discuss.
well, I think it has to be done. It's a necessity. It will mean that there will be more police on the streets for starters. And if we look at the statistics, so out of the 99 murders that happen with children under 25, I'll call them children because they are pretty much young people, 31 of them were black. And whilst that means the majority of them are white, it's disproportionate because actually black people make only 4% of the population in this country. And I used to lecture and go around to schools all around the country, and in particular those in London, and talk to lots of youths, and many of them were black, especially in South London and areas like that. And it was apparent to me that there was a fear within those youths, and that there was a sort of an aggression. And I felt fearful for them, and I kept imploring to them that actually, if you focus and believe in yourself, you can achieve. And I would go and talk about motivation and things like this. But what worries me when I look at this is because, in the end, it's a lot of black on black. And that is where it's just, I think a lot of the communities, and I say black community, but when I say that, I mean if you live in an area that is predominantly black and you are black within it, I think a lot of the people within those communities must work together, because this is a serious issue that's affecting the young people, and they're doing it out of fear. I think the police have a lot to answer for as well, but I think stop and search is an absolute must, but it has to be done with respect.
Yeah, and perhaps with intelligence too. You've been stopped and searched, as you described graphically in the paper, the Mail today. Tell us about that.
Well, this was something I'd met, actually. Well, listen, I'll start with that. But I met there used to be this place in London called the Zoo, but I don't know if you ever knew it. It was sort of in central London, Leicester Square. Oh, yeah. And it was funny because you'd always say you go out there and you pick up an animal. Because I wasn't. Anyway, no, but I met this lovely guy there, and we'd been talking for a bit, and this was so he came to pick me up. It was our first date. I lived in North London, sort of area around about the sort of Crouch End area. He picked me up at an agreed location, somewhere that I knew but nearer to my home. Got in his car. We were driving along. After about, we've been driving along for maybe about a mile. The blue lights were on. I was like, what the police? And I thought, what have I got here? What's this? So I thought, is that for us? And it appeared it was. So we pulled over, and the police officer, one came out, then the other came out either side of the car, and started asking questions. And we had to get out of the car. I got out of the car. He got out of the car. And it was only as the questioning went on that I realised, because I was listening, and he was asking me about me, and then the other one asked him about, how do you know this young lady? Where is she from? What's her last name? And I thought... Hey? And it was, when someone's asking questions, and gradually the penny started to drop, I thought, they think I'm a hooker.
And was your friend, was he a black guy as well?
No, he was white. And the thing is, it was not an expensive car. He wasn't driving erratically. And it was just the oddest feeling when suddenly, because as they were doing it, I was being very, and I looked nice, had a little see-through number on, but, but that doesn't make me a hooker. But it was just so funny in a way that they stopped, but they were polite. And I'd obliged, because actually only the other day I was stopped in a chemist as I was leaving, because I bought my skincare range that I always buy. I spend quite a bit on it. And as I went out, the tag went off, and this time the person who sort of started to reprimand me was extremely rude. And as he took me in store, I said, don't ever speak to me like that again. And so I can understand that if you are stopped and searched and someone is rude to you, it will bring out the other side of you. So I think the police, they need to learn to do it properly.
How do you talk to... if you're a mum with black boys, how do you talk to them about the stop and search scenario? Do you say, look, keep your cool, it might be that you could be the victim of this, so you need to support the police? Because that's a difficult conversation to have, isn't it?
It is a difficult conversation, but I think if you bring up a child with respect, then he will behave in a respectful manner. I don't even think you would need to specifically say in that incident, but I would say have respect for the police, is what I would say. But I wouldn't terrify black boys, because I think what it is they also mistrust the police. With that conversation comes a level that they may feel they don't trust the police, and they'll be like, why are you saying that? And then they might they might behave in a way that would be inappropriate.
Do you get a lot of abuse from people, if you want to say in the black community, for taking your stance on stop and search because you do support it so strongly?
Yeah, sometimes, but I don't really care. I don't care. I know, what I know is that there's a lot of black on black crime. It is disproportionate. So it is a realistic supposition that the police would disproportionately stop and search black youths, especially in a predominantly black area. And I find some of these statistics quite irritating, actually, when they say, oh, you're more likely to do this if you're black, and you're... Well, it depends where you are. It depends where the statistics as well. So I think, but it's an overall thing, isn't it? Because if there is a community, there's a white community where there is a lot of violence and knife crime, then the majority of people who stop and search will be white. And I think that's why Suella said that, spread that message to 43 police districts rather than just London, because actually knife crime has exploded all over the country.
Oh, it's awful.
And it's not just predominantly, it's not just black people, but in London, yes, it is.
OK, thank you, Nana.